I want you guys to give a warm welcome to our new Black Panther, Mr. David Johnson. It's young man.
The search for a new Black Panther was one of the most sensitive casting challenges in Hollywood history. Not just for Marvel, for Hollywood. Because there is no clean answer to the question of how you continue the story of a character whose soul was so deeply tied to the actor who played him, that when Chadwick Boseman died, the whole world felt it. Not just Marvel fans, everyone. And for 4 years, Marvel has been navigating that impossibility with more care and more respect than anyone had a right to expect from a studio operating at this scale. Now, they have an answer. And Comic-Con just made it official. David Johnson is T'Challa 2, the son of the king. Grown up, suited up, and stepping into one of the most important roles in the future of the MCU. Black Panther 3 is confirmed for December 2028, directed by Ryan Coogler, with Denzel Washington in a role that is being described as potentially one of his final film performances. The X-Men are coming to Wakanda. Storm and T'Challa's relationship, one of the most celebrated romances in Marvel Comics history, is finally going to be possible on screen. And the way Marvel is aging T'Challa from the child we saw at the end of Wakanda Forever into the adult warrior this film requires is actually kind of brilliant once you understand the mechanism. Let's go through all of it, because this announcement is bigger than it might initially look. Start with the casting, because the casting is the heart of the entire announcement, and it deserves the weight it carries. The search to find an actor who could carry the legacy of T'Challa without directly recasting Chadwick Boseman has been running for years. Marvel's solution from the beginning was always to continue through the son rather than replace the father, but finding the right person to play that son as an adult, to put the Black Panther suit on someone new and make the audience believe it, was never going to be simple. David Johnson emerged from a competitive process that reportedly included Damson Idris, who had been the subject of significant fan and media speculation for the better part of 2 years, and the reason becomes clear when you look at what he's done recently. Alien Romulus demonstrated his ability to carry a film with genuine emotional stakes and genuine physical danger simultaneously. The Long Walk showed a different register entirely, quiet, internal, devastating in the specific way that characters under enormous pressure without obvious outlets for it can be devastating. Those two qualities together, the presence to command action sequences and the interiority to handle what the material actually requires emotionally, are exactly what T'Challa 2 needs from whoever plays him. His statement at Comic-Con was perfectly calibrated. To step into this family and join a story that means so much to millions of people worldwide is an absolute honor and privilege. I want to let the screen do the talking. No overstatement, no performance of emotion that hasn't been earned yet. Just a man who understands the weight of what he's been handed and is choosing to let the work speak. That is the right note to strike on day one of a casting announcement this significant. Now let's talk about the December 2028 release date and why it actually makes strategic sense rather than just being another delay to absorb. The sequencing Marvel has locked in is specific and intentional. Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars land first. Then Jake Schreier's X-Men reboot. Then Black Panther 3 in December 2028. That order is not arbitrary. Black Panther 3 is being positioned to directly incorporate mutant plotlines and characters that the X-Men reboot establishes. The film cannot fully execute what it's planning to do until the X-Men exist in the unified MCU continuity. The December slot gives the X-Men reboot time to land, time for the audience to know and care about those characters, and then deploys them into Wakanda with full context already built. December 2028 also puts Black Panther 3 in the position of being the signature year-end film in the first full year of Phase 7. That is a statement of confidence in the film's ability to carry that slot. Marvel has historically reserved their most emotionally substantial films for end-of-year release, when audiences are most receptive to exactly the kind of film Coogler makes, visually spectacular and emotionally serious in equal measure. The aging mechanism is the narrative engineering question everyone is asking. How do you get from the 8-year-old child introduced at the end of Wakanda Forever to a fully grown adult warrior who can plausibly wear the suit and lead a nation without creating a timeline rupture that confuses every other film in the slate? The answer is Secret Wars, Jonathan Hickman's comic run, which the MCU's Secret Wars film is drawing from heavily, ends with a multiversal consolidation, a collapsing and rebuilding of reality into a single unified timeline. That rebuilding is not a simple restoration of what existed before. It is a new configuration, and in a new configuration, ages, histories, and timelines can emerge differently than they were before the collapse. T'Challa 2 existing as an adult in the post-Secret Wars MCU is not a continuity error. It is the specific intended consequence of the reality restructuring that Secret Wars produces. Marvel is using the mechanics of the story they're telling to solve the practical problem the story created. That is smart writing. The comparison to Thor Ragnarok is the right one to invoke here. Ragnarok functions simultaneously as a continuation of Thor's established arc and a complete creative reinvention of what a Thor film could be. It respected the history while being genuinely new. Black Panther 3 is being positioned to do exactly that, honoring the Wakanda Forever era, the grief of it, the weight of it, while launching something with enough energy and forward momentum to attract audiences who weren't there for the beginning. David Johnson as the new center of gravity provides that momentum, while Ryan Coogler's continued involvement provides the continuity. Shuri's transition is the thread that bridges the emotional history and the narrative future. Through the entirety of Phase 6, through Doomsday, through Secret Wars, through the Multiverse War, Letitia writes Shuri remains the primary Black Panther. She is the one leading Wakanda's forces. She is the strategist. She is carrying the weight of the mantle her brother left behind. Black Panther 3 then gives us the formal passing of that mantle. Shuri stepping into the mentor role, the aunt guiding her nephew, transferring not just the suit, but the knowledge of what it costs, and what it means to be the protector of a nation that the world has spent centuries trying to diminish and control. That transition has emotional architecture built into it that will resonate on multiple levels simultaneously. For anyone who has watched the franchise from the beginning, watching Shuri, who spent Wakanda Forever learning to carry grief and responsibility she never asked for, choose to hand that responsibility to T'Challa's son is going to be one of the most quietly devastating things the franchise has produced. For new audiences, it is the clearest possible introduction to who these characters are and what they mean to each other. The Storm storyline is the one that the comic reading portion of the fandom has been waiting for since the X-Men's existence in the MCU became a confirmed reality rather than a legal impossibility. T'Challa and Ororo Munro's relationship in the comics is one of the most significant and most politically complex in Marvel's entire history. A Wakandan king and a mutant woman who grew up navigating the specific survival requirements of being visibly different in a world that fears what she is. The diplomatic marriage between them carried enormous implications for global mutant politics, for Wakanda's relationship with the wider world, and for the specific question of who gets to claim Ororo as a representative of their interests, her nation, her people, her kind, or herself. With a young adult T'Challa 2 and a new mutant cast being established through the X-Men reboot, the door to that storyline is genuinely open for the first time. Marvel can do it with patience and with the full weight of both characters properly established before they come together. The organic Africa and Wakanda native mutant characters being developed for the film add another dimension. The question of how Wakanda as a nation, which has always operated on its own terms and its own timeline, integrates the reality of mutant kind into its existing political and cultural structures. Wakanda was not built by the same forces that built the Western nations whose relationship with mutants is already being established in the X-Men reboot. Its relationship with mutation will be different, and that difference will be interesting. The specifics of his role are being held close, but the texture of what's being described, an ancient Wakandan political figure, a global adversary, someone whose actions forced T'Challa II to prove himself, points toward a character whose threat is not physical, but moral and historical. Denzel operates best when the opponent to his character is a set of ideas, a system, a version of the world that his character has to either accept or fight against on terms that are never clean or simple. Ryan Coogler writing a specific role for him is not a coincidence of scheduling. It is a filmmaker who knows exactly what he wants to do with one of the most formidable actors alive, and has constructed something worthy of that level of craft. The ancestral plane question is the one the film is going to have to handle with the most care, and the approaches being considered demonstrate that Marvel understands the responsibility they're carrying. Chadwick Boseman cannot be replaced, his voice cannot be synthesized, his face cannot be recreated. What remains available is the shape of T'Challa's presence, in Panther form in the ancestral plane, in archival footage recontextualized with sensitivity, in the silent guidance of a father whose choices are visible, in the person his son has become, even without a scene where they speak. The precedent set in Wakanda Forever, emotional honesty about loss, handled without cheap technological workarounds, tells you exactly what register Ryan Coogler operates in. He will not do this wrong. What Black Panther 3 is being constructed to accomplish is both a beginning and a completion simultaneously. It closes the chapter that Wakanda Forever opened in grief and in uncertainty. The chapter where Wakanda had to figure out who it was without the man who defined it. And it opens the chapter where the answer to that question is the young man who carries his name, who grew up in the shadow of an impossible legacy, and who has chosen to step into the light of it rather than be crushed by the weight. That is a story worth telling, and December 2028 is a long way away. So here is what I need from you: the Storm and T'Challa 2 dynamic. Is that the storyline you're most excited to see adapted, or is there another comic book chapter you want Coogler to tackle first? And Denzel Washington as the potential antagonist, what kind of character do you think Coogler is building for him? Drop everything in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started, and I want to figure out where Phase 7 is going with you.